Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really powerful idea: how the ancient art of storytelling can totally revolutionize one of the most critical moments in an employee's life, their onboarding. So let's start with a question that probably hits home for a lot of us. I want you to think back to your first day at a new job. Was it this inspiring start to a grand adventure? Or was it, just a blur of paperwork and PowerPoints? For most companies, if we're being honest, it's pretty forgettable. But making it memorable isn't just a nice to have. The stakes here are incredibly high. A great onboarding experience can improve new hire retention by as much as 50%. That is a massive opportunity that a lot of organizations are just missing out on. And this really leads us to the core problem, what we call the onboarding disconnect. Let's break down exactly why that traditional approach so often just falls flat. You know the classic method, right? It's the information dump. New hires are basically strapped into a chair and just drowned in the sea of facts, figures, and policies. It's designed to inform, sure, but it usually just overwhelms them, creating stress on day one instead of a genuine connection. So, how do we fix this? Well, the solution isn't another fancy app or some more complex process. It's something we are all fundamentally wired for: a good story. And listen, storytelling in this context, it's not about campfires and fairy tales. It is a strategic business tool. It's what transforms orientation from a bland checklist into an actual engaging journey. It's how you humanize your culture and make those critical lessons really stick. But why is it so darn effective? The answer is pretty cool, actually. It lies in the science behind it all. Let's take a look at why our brains are so hardwired for narrative. Okay, so check this out. When you hear a list of facts, only a couple parts of your brain kind of light up. But when you hear a story, your entire brain gets involved. The emotional centers, the memory centers, everything. It triggers a release of dopamine, which basically acts like a save button for your memory, making you focus and recall information way more effectively. This chart just illustrates the power gap perfectly. A famous Stanford study found that when they asked people to recall information, 63% of them could remember details from a story, but only 5%, just 5, could remember a standalone statistic. The difference is just staggering. And here's the crucial point. Information that's embedded inside a story can become up to 22 times more memorable. That is the difference between an employee forgetting a core value by lunchtime and carrying it with them for their entire career. Okay, the science is clear, so now let's get practical. Let's see how you can build a better onboarding experience using 3 core strategies. These strategies move from the big picture all the way down to the personal. We're going to start with the company's origin story. Then we'll zoom in on authentic stories from current employees, and finally, we'll use interactive scenarios to bring key lessons to life. Let's look at each one. First up, the company story. The old way is just showing a slide with your values listed out. Integrity, innovation, teamwork. It's abstract, it's forgettable. The story way? It's telling the tale of how your founders, working out of a garage somewhere, faced this huge challenge that forged the value of integrity. Now that makes it real. Next up, real employee stories. Instead of just explaining the flexible schedule policy from a handbook, you have an actual employee share a personal story of how that policy made a real difference in their life. This puts a human face on these abstract benefits, and it builds an immediate sense of community and trust. And finally, let's look at interactive scenarios. These are perfect for transforming that dry training, like, say, cybersecurity, into something engaging. Instead of a list of rules, you create a mini story. A new hire gets a suspicious-looking email, and it looks like it's from the CEO. Then, you put them right in the driver's seat. You ask them, what should they do? This simple question transforms them from just a passive listener into an active participant. They have to apply the knowledge right there in that moment. And it's the consequences that make the lesson unforgettable. If they make the right choice, they avert disaster. Make the wrong one, and they witness a simulated data breach. That emotional impact ensures they will never forget the lesson. In fact, this approach can improve recall of security training by up to 65%. When you put all of these pieces together, you achieve the ultimate goal: reframing the entire onboarding process as the new hire's own personal quest. Think about it in classic story terms, right? Accepting the job is answering the call to adventure. Meeting their manager or their onboarding buddy, that's finding a guide. And completing their first key task, that's their first win. This frames their journey not as a corporate checklist, but as a heroic path.
And this simple shift in perspective, it's profound. It's no longer just a process they have to endure. It's their story. It instills confidence and a real sense of purpose, showing them that they aren't just a cog in the machine. They are a vital character in the company's next chapter. So the crucial takeaway is this: stop presenting information and start inviting your new hires into a narrative. Because a great onboarding doesn't just create a prepared employee, it begins a story of commitment, engagement, and success.